Okay, so we start the meeting day 4 on development of agraria. Okay, beside that, I will ask for all students to present uh, the latest assignment. Okay, from here I only saw 4 students. Oh, 5. Yeah, 5. Okay, Farhan already. Naufal. Only Andi. Okay. So I will give chance for students, then you can present what you found, yeah, related to the assignment previously. Okay, who want to start first? Yeah, Talita, you want to start? Yeah, okay. Talita, you can start if you want to share screen.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes,
Please,
sir. I can start.
yeah, please present your finding. Yeah, okay.
Before that all, is my voice clear enough, sir?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, it's clear. It's clear.
Or maybe I turn off my camera, sir, because my jaringan is not stable.
Okay, yeah, it's okay.
Okay. I share the screen. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Talita Firiskiana, and today I want to present about what is the difference between agrarian law before and after independence, after UUPA or BEL. And the first one, we should know about the history of the agrarian law in Indonesia, that the validity period of the agrarian law is the first one is colonial agrarian law, that this agrarian law applies before Indonesian independence even exists before the promulgation of the UUPA, which is one of the 24 September in 1960. And the second one is National Agrarian Law. This agrarian law applies after the promulgation of the UUPA, which is on the 24 September in the 90s and 19. And the next one is I have the kind of agrarian law of colonial, and the characteristic of the colonialism is the first one, the colonial law is party structure based on the goals and the principle of the colonial government and party influenced by it. This contradicting the interest of the people and the state in completing the current national revolution and universal development. And the second one is the agrarian law has a dualistic nature with the application of customary law in addition to agrarian law, which is based on Western law. And see, for the original people, colonial agrarian law did not guarantee legal certainty. And the next one is I have the impact of the Dutch East Indies government. Ini adalah salah satu dampak-dampaknya dari pemerintahan Hindia Belanda. There is no legal unity or legal dualism occur, named the Western legal system and customary law simultaneously. And the second one is pluralism of customary law is allowed to apply as long as it does not conflict with the political and economic interests of the colonizers. And the third one is the introduction of a new right, namely agraris eikdom, or yaitu agraris eikdom atau jenis hak atas tanah yang diberikan kepada yang menghendaki terhadap tanah-tanah hak adat mirip dengan eikdom. Lalu upaya apa yang diberikan pemerintah saat Indonesia sudah merdeka, yaitu the first one is new uses and interpretation, and the second one is convention removal, the third one is particle soil removal, and the next is change to public land rental rent, additional regulation to offers the transfer of the land rights, and regulation and measure regarding plantation land, and the last one is transfer of agrarian duties and authority. And the next one is the committee produced the manuscript of the draft of UPA on January yaitu the abolition of the domain principle and the recognition of the customary rights, which must be subordinate to the public interest of the state. Itu dihapuskannya asas domain yang diakui hak wilayah yang harus ditunjukkan pada kepentingan umum. And the second one is the domain principle is replaced with the right of the state power on the basis of the provisions of Article 38, paragraph 3 of the 1950 Constitution. And next one, dualism agrarian law is abolished. Jadi dualisme dari hukum agraria itu dihapuskan. Lalu land rights, property rights are strongest right, which have the social function. Then there are business right, building right, and usufructory right. And the next one is property rights only be owned by Indonesian citizen. Jadi hak milik hanya boleh dimiliki oleh WNI Indonesia saja. And then it is necessary to determine the maximum and minimum limits of the land area and may belong to a personal of legal entity. And the next one and the last one is agricultural land in principle must be worked on, managed by the owner himself, and it is necessary to hold land registration and land use planning. So this is my presentation. Thank you for the attention. I'm sorry if I have any mistake. I hope you all always healthy and may you always be in Allah protection. Amin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, yeah, it's good. And then the next one, Miran, you want to start? Yeah.
Sir, I may, but I do not make PPT.
Yeah, it's okay, no problem. You can start by presenting your paper. It's okay, or just oral presentation is okay. Yeah, just start.
Okay, sir. I will read my paper. Okay, sir. Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Agrarian law before the independence, after the independence, from 1945 till 1960 have no any development in it. It was like that there is no amendment in it. It was running like the colony system. Some group are beneficiary of that. They have benefit and they got benefit uh, from that system. So after that, the Reformation era started, and the community of Indonesia, mostly the farmer, have sacrificed much more of their life to have development and agrarian law. The struggle and there rises their wise accomplishment that Indonesian country that address theoretical and ideology and explore and the popular economy, so that the country is time. The regulation regarding agrarian reform aim to reduce uh, inequality of land ownership and ownership to create justice. Indeed, with agrarian dispute and conflict, creating resources, pros, prosperity, and an agrarian-based society through the regulation of ownership used to utilize of the land to create the employment opportunity, to reduce the poverty, improve community access, the economic resources, to improve food security and sovereignty, and improve and maintain the quality of environment. For the purpose of society, in my opinion, I think that the Indonesian should have to work harder. That there are many, there is a one presidential act which I read in the paper, 2018, that it still have the smell of the colonial system. So there are many development, but the final or the summary which I got from it is the Indonesian system is still civil, having civil. Indonesian agrarian law is still have civil the colonial system. That's from me. Thank you, sir. Assalamualaikum.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. But you not so define the development after independence, but it's okay, no problem. Okay. The next one, Farhan. Yeah.
Yes, because I don't make the PPT, so I think I'm gonna talk it out. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. So, first one is describe agrarian law after independence. So, agrarian law in Indonesia after independence started when the nation's leaders starting to think about building a new law that is free from the injustice of colonial law, including the colonial agrarian law. So we see that the nation's leader wanted to reestablish new agrarian law that are free of injustice and imbalanced agrarian law as previous the colonial law. So under the after independence agrarian law, the government of Indonesia produced some legal framework, and it can be seen in law number 28, 1956, concerning supervision of the transfer of rights to plantation land, and law number 29 of 1956 also concerning regulation and actions regarding plantation lands, and also law number 1 of 1958 concerning the elimination of particle lands. And after the development on this legal framework, the government made some kind of a committee an agrarian committee, and the formation of the committee was carried out to produce an agrarian law framework in Indonesia, and thus actually bring us to the next era, which is the agrarian law after UUPA. So, as I stated before, that Indonesian government formed a committee that eventually will set out and produce an agrarian law that will become as UUPA, or Law Number 5 of 1960 concerning basic agrarian regulations. And under this law, there are an implementation of the provisions in Article 33, paragraph 3 of the 1945 Constitution, which states that is the ruler of Indonesians' earth, water, and natural resources. So the purpose of establishing this UUPA is also explained in Article 2, paragraph 3, namely that the authority originating from the state right to control is used to achieve the greatest prosperity of the people, the sense of happiness, prosperity, and independence in society of Indonesia. And because of this legal framework, which is the UUPA, or Law Number 5 of 1960, the Indonesian government actually succeeded in distributing thousands of hectares of land to Indonesian people itself. We are no longer using the colonial law. And for next one is the main difference of agrarian law during Dutch colonialism, after independence, and after UUPA. So the difference in agrarian law under Dutch colonialism is, in Dutch colonialism, the agrarian law are full of we can say as discrimination, exploitation, and dominations against the local people of Indonesia. So the colonial rulers actually made a legal framework that are dominating the agrarian sector in Indonesia. So the power of the colonial rulers actually gripping the majority indigenous population in Indonesia at the time. And also, the agrarian law are exploitative or exploiting the natural resources that are benefiting the colonizers at the time. So the indigenous people are having a hard time to have a free agrarian sector in Indonesia at the time. And also the rules under colonial era are discriminative towards locals in Indonesia, because the colonialist group are the colonizer are, we can say, a bit more superior at the time. They believe so, and the native or the locals are a more inferior one. So the rules or the legal framework at that time are very discriminative. And whereas agrarian law, and after independence in Indonesia, as I stated before, we have the government of Indonesia actually reestablished the new law or new legal framework that will be some kind of a basis that will become our robust agrarian legal framework. So agrarian law after independence are some kind of a basis or cikal bakal untuk UUPA ke depan. So we can see that because of the notion agrarian law after independence as a basis for UUPA, we can see that this new reestablished law are actually trying to make agrarian or land to be more inclusive towards Indonesian people or locals. And we can see in agrarian law after UUPA that under the UUPA or law number 5 of 1960, Indonesian government have succeeded to distribute thousands of hectares, maybe millions of hectares now towards Indonesian people. So the government succeeded to make agrarian law in Indonesia to be more inclusive towards Indonesian people. I think that's also.
Okay, yeah, good presentation. Yeah, you have a complete finding. Yeah, you telling all. Yeah, and then the next one goes to Balogun. Yeah, you can share your findings related to the development after independence or development after basic agrarian law enacted. Okay, it is your time now.
Okay, sir. So I'm sorry I didn't do PowerPoint because my system is faulty. Okay, so I'm going to start to read my write-up. I'll start with agrarian law after independence. After 1945, Indonesia became an independent country. The Indonesian Constitution of Article 33 states that the earth and water and the natural resources contained are controlled by the state and are used to the greatest prosperity of the people. This is also supported by Law Number 5 of 1960. 1 year after independence, the government implemented a small-scale land reform that through Number 13 of 1946, the government abolished the special rights of the village elites in the villages. Their lands were cut in half with compensation to be distributed to the landless farmer. Also, in 1948, through the emergency law of Number 13, the government also abolished the conversion rights from the sugarcane companies located in the two sultanates of Jogja and Solo, and the land was distributed to the Tokinashes farmers. In 1959, it is known as the period of guided democracy. The outline of the government policy at that time was very clear because it was reflected in the motto of sovereign in politics. There were self-reliant in the economy and personality in the culture. The problem of agriculture is prioritized and agrarian reform is used as a starting point as an implementation. Since 1961 and the following years, various regulations were issued and the institutions were formed. Land reform courts complete villages measurement and the committee, like the 1960, came out in Article Number 3 of the 1960 Commission. However, after the UUPA, there was an article that has five major verses that states, number 1, every person and every community body having a certain right on the agricultural land is in principle obliged to cultivate or to exploit it actively by himself while avoiding a violation method. Second, the implementation of the provision of the article shall be further regulated by the legislative regulation. The third, exception to the principle mentioned in paragraph of the article shall be regulated by the legislative regulation. Also, Article 17, based on the regulation of the agrarian principles, states that 1, with due regard to the provision in Article 17 and in order to achieve the aim meant in Article 2, the maximum or minimum area of land which may be owned by a family or a corporation, wider any rights mentioned in Article 16 shall be regulated. The fixing of the maximum limits meant in paragraph 1 of the article shall be executed by the legislative regulation within a short time. The land in excess of the maximum limits meant in paragraph of the article shall be taken by the government. against the compensation and shall be further distributed among the people who need it, according to the provisions provided by the government regulation. That's all.
Okay, yeah, nice. Yeah, you make more finding after Fahad. Okay, okay. By the way, Talita, please invite the others also to joining the class. Still Andi and Naufal, they are not joining the class. Okay, please ask them to. Okay, Talita. Yeah, as Naufal and Andi to joining the class. Okay. Okay, well done. Yeah, it's good to see all the students. You already do your findings, user finding, and yeah, it's good. Yeah, nice presentation, and I think you have also doing good research on finding the resource and something related to the development of agrarian. Okay. Yeah, of course, these 3 days we still discussing on this topic because yeah, yeah, we want to make a short but I mean slow but sure. Yeah, okay, because these 3 days we still discussing on the development and the background of agrarian law in Indonesia. Previous meeting we already done with the agrarian law during the Dutch colonialisms, and today we'll discussing on agrarian law after independence. Besides that, because you already present your finding, but it's okay. This is to repeat again on our discussion related to the agrarian law after independence. So here, this is the assignment that you have been finished. It's good. I will give a good mark for those of you who will finishing this assignment. Okay, the development of agrarian law in Indonesia. This is at least 3, yeah. Like 1870, this is the agrarian law in the Dutch colonialisms. 1945 in the after independence, and then 1960 after the enacted of UPA or basic agrarian law. But agrarian law after independence. So if we talk on agrarian law after independence, how is it and what is it? So it is the position or the history or the story or the position on the 1945 until 1960. So it is around 15 years, but actually the correct one is only 12 years because they starting to make the agrarian law and something they starting in 1948 because yeah, because it is a process, but if we want to make it easier, so we split it. The agrarian law after independence, it is 15 years in 1945 until 1960. Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. During this time, during the time in after independence, we still recognizing the dualisms of agrarian law because Indonesian people or customary law or customary people they still using the customary law. They only recognize this kind of the title. It is hak milik adat. Hak milik adat is it means customary land law, and then ulayat, yasan, golongan. This is still same type, but this is only recognized by the customary law, and then. In that time, we still recognizing the colonialism law because we still founding Eigendom, Opstal, Erfah, Gebut, yeah, and so on. Yeah, so okay. Article 2, transitional rules of 1945 Constitution. In that time, all existing state bodies and regulation, including the regulation in the field of agrarian law, are still valid as long as new ones have not been enacted according to the 1945 Constitution. Because at that time, they still didn't finish to the discussion some of the discussion relating to how to make an Indonesian spirit of the regulation related to the agrarian law. So beside that, to fill the empty space or empty spot in the constitution, so they make this kind of regulation in Article 2 that all existing state bodies and regulation are still valid because it's still not been enacted according to the 1945. But in the other side, we at that time we still found that 80% of Indonesian population at that time work in the agricultural sector, but sadly, all the fertile agricultural land only controlled by a handful of rulers and entrepreneurs. It means like from the Dutch, and from the Japan or something, and from the colonies, because they control all the agricultural land. Okay, and then the generated rules. This is already presented by Farhan. This is true because at that time, after the independence, our constitution, finally they can enacted this 4 act. The first one is law number 28 of 1956, and then law number 29 of 1956, law number 1 of 1958, law number 7 of 1958. Please also download this act and save into your file, because this is also maybe this will be coming in the mid exam or something. Finally, in 1956, 1958, our constitution, they can make or they can enacted this 4 law, because at that time we need an agrarian rules to make a transition, because after we independence, we want to we want to end the dependency from the colony to our Indonesian people. So we want to at least how to remove the dependency, because at that time, after the Dutch, they already back to their country, but some of the land is still owned by the colony. So that time we need an act that gives legal certainty to our people, actually also for the people who work in the plantations, because we already see that at 80% people they work in plantation. That's why they make law number 28 and law number 29. So in this law, that all the lands that in Indonesia, that they cannot cannot show the proof. So it means that it is belong to the country, and then the country will give and will share to the equal to the people, for the function to make a plantation or something, to make it just useful and to make people independence. with their rights to the land. And then this is also law number 9 of 1958. This is same because at that time there are still so many landlords, yeah, because so many hand rulers, so many entrepreneurs from colony, they still have the ownership of the land in Indonesia. But after the independence, we want to remove all. So this is the process from because in the Dutch colony we still recognizing what we said, the domain verklaring. Yeah? You still remember domain verklaring? Domain verklaring, because domain verklaring stated that all the land that cannot prove by the Indonesian people, so it belongs to the government, or it means that to belong to the Dutch East Indies or to the colony. But after independence, we make this law number 1 of 1958. We how to say, we switch, yeah, because so after this law enacted, all land that they cannot show cannot prove, or the or if the land is owned by the landlord, it should be given to the country or to the constitution related to the Indonesian independence. And then beside that, there is a law number 7 of 1958. At that time, because we still make a transition, we still doing a transition, we need a body or an institution that it is truly, how to say, we can believe, yeah, we can believe to this body, we can believe to this institution to handle, to control our land in Indonesia. Because at that time it is handled by the colony, it is handled by the so on, so we need a body with this Ministry of Agrarian. So at that time in this law they enacted that they make a body with this Ministry of Agrarian. This is one single ministry that control and handle the land in Indonesia. Okay. This wise, so Ministry Agrarian, they have the datis, they have the authorities, control or something, but they are not owning the land, yeah, because they only controlling. Okay, this is actually for the main law relating to the history in the or the development of Indonesian after independence, agrarian law Indonesia after independence. And then this is some of the story at that time during 15 years or actually 12 years of the process of the transition after Indonesian independence. They make an agrarian committee because of course our goals, we want to make an agrarian law with an Indonesian spirit, okay? But they still confuse how to make an Indonesian spirit and how to actually an agrarian law that can how to say can accommodate all the people in Indonesia, can accommodate all the aspiration, etc. Yeah, that's why they make a committee, agrarian committee. The first one, they make a Yogyakarta Agrarian Committee. It is in 1948, and then after that they changed to Jakarta Agrarian Committee in 1951, and then they, in the process again, because they make a new committee, which is Suwaryo Agrarian Committee in 1955. And then Sunario Committee in 1958 and Sujarwo Committee in 1960. So in Sujarwo Committee 1960, this is the moment that we finish and we proudly can enacted the law of number 5 of 1960 concerning basic agrarian law that it is still used until now, or we can see UUPA or basic agrarian law. So this is a long story. That's why I told here it is 12 years, because actually they start making the committee in 1948. Yeah, 1948, and then after that 33 years after, and then 4 years after, 3 years, and 2 years after they make the last one, Sujarwo Committee. And then Yogyakarta Committee, okay, Yogyakarta Committee in 1948, because the capital of Indonesia, of the state, was in Yogyakarta in that time, in 1948. So Yogyakarta at that time was capital of state, yeah. But now recently the capital state of Indonesia is in Yogyakarta. But maybe next time we will move to the new capital city, yeah. Maybe Balogun and Miran, you don't know that Indonesia will move their capital city, or you know already about this news. Yeah, Balogun, you know this news already? No, yeah. Yeah, because maybe next 4 years or 6 years we will move to Kalimantan, our new capital city. Okay, so we back again in 1948, because our capital of the state in Yogyakarta, based on a presidential decree dated May 21, 1948, the Yogyakarta Agrarian Committee was formed. It is chaired by Sarimin Raksodinarjo. Okay, please remember this name also, because it might be you can find in next exam or something, yeah. Sarimin Raksodinarjo, at that time he serving as head of the agrarian section of the Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay. This is a short picture of Yogyakarta. No, this is not Yogyakarta Agrarian Committee, but this is the picture of how actually the picture during Yogyakarta as the capital city, yeah, as the main city in Indonesia. Okay. Okay, resume Yogyakarta Committee. The resume is the release. After they make Yogyakarta Committee, they make a final resume, final decision, like the release. So the release of the domain principle and the recognitions of wilayah. Okay, in this committee, they already have the final decision that they will remove the domain verklaring, and they also want to make a recognition of wilayah rights, and then the enactment of regulations that allow for strong individual rights. They also thinking to for Indonesia, we have to make an enactment that allow an individual rights onto property, like final title or something, yeah, because at that time during the colonialisms, Indonesian people, they cannot own a land, yeah. That's why we need in this discussion we want to make an individual rights, or I mean right of ownership. Then they will also in the discussion conduct investigation into regulation in other countries to determine whether foreigners can have property rights to land, and then the establishment of the determination of the minimum area of land for small farmers in order to obtain a decent life. And they also discussing on determination of the maximum area of land ownership, because if they not controlling the maximum land of ownership, it can it can make a new, or I mean repeat again the how colony coming to Jogja to Indonesia, yeah. So they want to make a boundaries relating to the individual ownership or to the entities, so they only can have a maximum area of land ownership. Then they also discussing on the importance of land registration, because in the past, of course, even they have in the colony, even they have land registration, but it is only for fiscal cadastre, or it is only to take a tax, yeah. But they didn't giving the legal certainty. That's why in this Jogja committee they want to make land registration to be an important way to have a legal certainty on ownership of the land. And then the scheme of the land right in the form of property rights and rights to vacant land from the state and small areas. Yeah. Okay, agrarian community. Okay, this is already. Okay. This is the next assignment. Okay, please make a 2 groups that each group consists of 3 people. The group A, because in this class we have 6 students, so we will divide a 2 groups that consist of 3 people. Group A will describe and telling more on development of agrarian law during Jakarta Agrarian Committee and Suwahyo Committee. This is you can define on what Jakarta Agrarian Committee decision, and then what Jakarta Agrarian Committee discussing about, yeah. And then on Suwahyo Committee in 1955 also you can please find on what actually the position at that time, what they discussing, and what the difference between Jakarta Agrarian Committee and Suwahyo Committee. Then the group B, your assignment is please describe and telling more on development of agrarian law during Sunario Committee in 1958 and Sujarwo Committee in 1960. This is the final committee that we finally can enacted basic agrarian law. Okay, student will present the finding in 10 to 15 minutes on Tuesday, the next Tuesday in the next week, yeah. And after completion, we'll be continued with discussion session like this. Okay, so far, any question? Yeah, for the groups, I think because now for students, yeah, so two students absent for today. So okay, so I think I will make the group, yeah. So the group A is Miran and Talita, and Naufal, yeah. So group A is Miran, Talita, and Naufal, and then group B Farhan, Balogun, and Andi. Okay. Okay. Is any question on this assignment? Yeah, please. All of you have a number, yeah. Each of you, like Farhan, you have Mira numbers already. Yeah, okay. Balogun also you have their number. You can contact through WhatsApp. Is it you can use WhatsApp, right, in your country? Yeah, Balogun. Yeah, you can use WhatsApp in your country.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So you can discuss in this assignment with your friends. Yeah. So Balogun, Farhan, and Andi, and then Miran, Talita, and Nova. Okay. You can in the presentation you can present 3 of you, or you can appoint one of the student to be a speaker. Yeah. Okay. I think that's for today. Yeah. I think because it's already 5, and yeah, some of you already good in the finding of the, and you can also define the development of agraria in Indonesia, and then this assignment to make more, to know more on how actually the history, and the story relating to the committee, the process. I already telling you on Yogyakarta Committee and in 1948, because this is the first committee that after the independence, because they want to make fast, they want to remove the dependency with the Dutch East Indies or with the colony. They starting in 1948, and then group A, you will telling on more the story related to Jakarta, Suwaryo, and then group B, please telling on Sunaryo and Sujarwo. Okay. I think that's all. If there is no question, So far, you already understand, right? This meeting, right? Miran already, Farhan already.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Talita already understand?
Yes, sir. Maybe you can write down on the classroom, sir.
Yeah. Sorry.
Maybe you can write down on the classroom because I have bad speak now. So the interaction is not clear enough.
Oh yeah. Later this presentation I will also share to our classroom. Yeah. Please invite and inform the others, Noval and Adi, to doing this assignment also. Yeah, because this is group assignment, and the score will be goes to the group. Okay. I think that's all, because this already 5, and 2 weeks more we will going in the fasting month. So please keep healthy and keep safe, and make a good prayer and so on. Please be a good students in University Islamic Indonesia. Please have a good score. Also in agrarian law. I hope that you all can have A score in agrarian law. I think that's all for today. We can finish by Alhamdulillah, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you can close the Zoom. Okay, thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.